a Bleach fandom community podcast brought to you by Counting with Nnoitra. 2 arms, 4 arms, 6 arms, no arms. Mwah, mwah, mwah. My name is Nomi, and today I am joined by Shiki.
Hello.
Hi, how are ya?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really hoping all of that picked up because Discord doesn't like me saying hello or goodbye. It was last episode, it was goodbye. So I'm really hoping all of that got picked up because I don't know if you heard any of that. That would have been funny.
I think I heard most of it. I couldn't tell
Okay,
if it was cutting out or not sometimes, but we'll go with it.
we'll go with it. We'll see what happens. But yeah, hi. A funny thing happened the other day, didn't it?
Yes.
We walked up a thing. Shiki is actually in my country, and we met up. We had a little meet up, and we were just like, "Hi, how's it going?"
Yep. It was really
Yeah,
fun to meet both you and Lethan.
yeah. Oh, it was such a good time, and until we had to walk up a really steep set of stairs and see a view
Yep,
from
it
the
was.
top.
And had walked back down it a few times.
We did. Scottish countryside. The hardships. There we go.
But it was really fun.
It was. And despite all that, we managed to as well watch these 3 episodes. Haha. See what I did there?
Yes.
These 3 episodes, I mean, to be brutally honest, I wasn't feeling these episodes as much as I was feeling like Zayal versus Mayuri, because they were interesting fights to watch. These were
hmm
just, I think, like Del and I mentioned this last week, is that these are just hack and slash kind of fights. There's not really much to learn from them.
Yeah,
There
it's
was
just a lot of.
a bit of
Yeah, I
clinking
mean, there
and
was a couple of flashbacks, but
yeah.
other than that, it's just like stabby, stabby, slashy, slashy.
Exactly. And with that, I think we should just get into our episode summaries so these guys can see how slashy they were.
Indeed. I'll
Yeah.
start us off with episode 201. Kenpachi's battle with Nnoitra continues with seemingly little improvement as Kenpachi fails to cut the uncuttable espada, until, to the surprise of Nnoitra, he manages to draw blood. Thinking it a fluke, Nnoitra soon discovers that he can indeed be cut, and finds himself to be in even greater trouble when he accidentally cuts off Kenpachi's eye patch, removing Kenpachi's limiter. In a final fit of rage, Nnoitra unleashes his resurrection, healing his wounds and growing an extra pair of arms, each wielding a scythe. As the battle progresses, Nnoitra is backed into a corner, where he grows yet another pair of arms, stabbing Kenpachi through the chest. And that brings us on to episode 202. Kenpachi receives blow after blow from Nnoitra, but Nnoitra is confused and frustrated that he keeps fighting back regardless. After being crucially struck in the neck, Kenpachi realizes that he needs to take the fight seriously, or he might die. Kenpachi decides to use Kendo and make use of both of his hands in his swing, dramatically increasing the power of his attack and leaving Nnoitra all but defeated. Nnoitra makes one last effort to attack Kenpachi, but falls in defeat as he recollects his past frustrations of being treated as weaker than others.
Which leads us into episode 203, Karakura Town Gathers, Aizen versus Shinigami. And if you were expecting a 10-soul pylon as Captain Class Shinigami wail on Aizen, who is clearly outmatched, then you're in for a bit of a disappointment, because instead this chapter starts off with the ending of the Nnoitra versus Kenpachi fight. With Nnoitra defeated by the fact that Kenny had just added another hand to his sword, Kenny walks away and towards Ichigo. Obviously, this man's thirst for a fight hasn't been satiated yet, for he breaks Orihime's Soten cushion and retrieves Ichigo from within. Instead of forcing him to fight, however, Kenny urges him to take Orihime and leave, leaving the rest to him and the other captains. However, before Ichigo can do, another Espada turns up and throws a spanner into the works. It's Stark, who, so far, we've only seen napping. Stark teleports in and teleports out with Orihime in tow, taking her to Aizen. Aizen then reveals that all that build-up about using Orihime to awaken the power of the Hokyuko was just a huge troll in order to fast-forward people into taking action. He is in fact ready to head to Karakura town and destroy it in order to create the Oken. Using Tosen as a walkie-talkie, he explains to all the Shinigami and humans, and Quincy, because Ishida would complain about being called just a human. Aizen explains that he had always wanted to split the Shinigami, making it easier to defeat the ones left in Karakura town if he trapped the others in Hueco Mundo. Worried for Karakura town, Ichigo starts to head off, but Kenpachi, again proving that he can listen when important information is given, explained that in order to protect the town and the people that reside there, the town transported to the Soul Society, where all the inhabitants slept safely, and a fake one created in its stead. Boy, these guys have been busy. Aizen, however, already knows it's a fake and is unperturbed and simply states that he will just have to destroy the remaining captains before heading to the Soul Society to create the Oken there. And with that promise, he summons 3 Espada, Harabel, Stark, and Baragon. Ulquiorra, who decided at that particular time was the perfect opportunity for him to come out of the prison Grimjo had placed him in episodes ago. I do hope you hadn't forgotten about him. Aizen places him in charge of Hueco Mundo. Ichigo, having heard all of this, then decides that his duty is not to the town, but to his friends, and races off to save Orihime and challenge Ulquiorra. So yeah, we got very kind of different energies in these episodes, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely the first episodes were, as you mentioned, just slashy with a
Yeah,
little bit of history building with some flashbacks, but the third episode definitely really progressed the story more than anything else.
it did. Yeah, we had 2 episodes slash 1 episode of info dump. Like, literally, so much information and so much plot kind of evolved from that last episode.
hmm
And it's just really interesting because the next episode's a filler episode. So, hopefully you remember it all by the time we get round to it.
But that being said, the first two episodes weren't completely devoid of information because, as mentioned, we did have those couple of flashbacks.
Hmm.
And a couple, like the flashbacks that we did get, brought up a couple interesting thoughts to me, where, especially with Kenpachi's flashback to the learning kendo.
Yeah, yeah. Should we, before we go into that though,
Oh, yeah.
should we do the manga anime differences, just because that's the way we do things now?
Oh,
we,
yeah,
we,
definitely.
we do those now. Yeah, so what we will do is we'll get into those sweet manga anime differences. And then what I was thinking is we will combine episodes 201 and 202 because they were pretty much continuations of the fights. So we'll put those 2 together and then we can delve in a little bit more with all the information dumped in episode 203. So, for episode 201, this takes Manga Chapters. It's a continuation of chapter 308, Satan from Orbit. Chapter 309, Pray for the Mantis. And chapter 310, Four Arms to Killing You. So, there is a lot of fighting filler, as with most anime episodes. They do fit in a lot more kind of like fight filler, fight padding out, especially prior to the first cut. There was a time where we were just waiting there. Okay, we were just like, okay, we can pick up the manga again when he finally cuts him. A lot of it as well was the anime reminding us that Yachiro, Ichigo, and Orihime were still there.
hmm
Because the manga didn't really pan to them at all. So any Ichigo Yachiro dialogue, there was a lot of that was filler. Orihime looking into space, we never got an answer to that. That was anime only as well. And then when Kenny rises, and he's got his sword after Nnoitra has had his arm cut off, the manga actually has Kenny's sword still impaled on Noito's arm, and Noito's arm is still holding the scythe. So it's like you've got Kenny's sword, and then you've got like it going off in a tangent, and you've still got his arm just sitting there, and the arm is still faithfully holding onto the scythe, which is pretty funny in the manga. For episode 202, we've got Manga Chapters 311, The Undead 4, and 312, Higher Than the Moon. Although in the Weekly Shonen Jump chapters that were released weekly in the Weekly Shonen Jump, this chapter was called Fervorous-Ferocious. No. I can't pronounce this English word. I'm gonna copy and paste it, and you can tell me how to pronounce this word. The second word is ferocious.
Fervorous.
Fervorous. Thank you. It is Fervorous-Ferocious, which, you know, I'm kind of glad it got changed when they when they put everything in like the bumper volumes, the Tantum bombs, because Higher Than the Moon is much easier to say. So yeah, those are the two episodes. Differences, we have extra Yachiro lines at the start. In the manga, in the anime, the underlying thing is that Nnoitra is the strongest. He is the strongest. And in the manga, he keeps repeating that he's the best. He's the best, which, you know, different connotations. But that's probably a translation regional thing. Anime has it right because fan translations have strongest as well. And sometimes fan translations can be the most kind of closer to what the original war translation is.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with strongest and best, because in the Japanese, I've seen, I think the word is cycle, um, and it can be translated as either term.
Yeah, yeah. And then final one is that this the Kenny flashback is actually anime only. The manga doesn't go into the flashback. It just has Kenny mansplaining his actions of why he does
Oh,
it.
that's
And it
sad.
literally takes a panel. Whereas the anime like to actually add in some extra bits. But yeah, that's all the differences for those two. So speaking of that Kenny flashback, that is actually what you wanted to bring up first, isn't it?
Yeah, so with that, it's just very interesting because if I'm recalling right, Kenny, when he joined the Gotei 13, it wasn't through the standard method. It was like literally just going straight to captain because he defeated the previous Squad 11 captain, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just defeated him in front of 200 people.
Yeah, and so obviously there's going to be a lot of like squad politics and basics that he would have never gotten as a general recruit going up the ladder. So we get to see a little bit of that, I'm presuming, through this training in kendo with Captain Yamamoto. And I wonder what all did Kenpachi have to go through since he didn't have that standard going up the ranks like anyone else.
Yeah, and it also brings to light as well, like, the fact that we knew about the eye patch thing. The eye patch thing has been brought up with his fights with
Hmm.
Ichigo. And he doesn't have a name for his Zanpakuto, toe, so therefore we can determine from that he hasn't achieved Bankai yet. Because in order to go Bankai, you kind of need to know the name of your Zanpakuto. Toe. I think it's safe to
Hmm.
assume that. So it leads the question of where can Kenny go from here? We've seen him fighting. The next step for him would be to take his eye patch off. And then it's always been, well, what happens then? And we've now seen it. He adds a second hand to his sword and goes full on kendo. Which it's kind of cool to see that level of a different way of giving him that power. Because I think it would have been a cop-out for him to suddenly go, oh, I learned my Zanpakuto's name. You know, I
Hmm.
think it was a cool difference that Kubo did to, you know, he's still very much fighting orientated. To give him this different fighting style that makes him stronger, gives him a little bit more control in order to defeat his foes. I think that was a really good move and really cool move.
Yeah, one thing I've also seen with the Bleach series in general is they don't do like nonsensical, well, to a degree, nonsensical power-ups like other shows in the shonen genre would do. There's always kind of like a general progression, and even with just adding a second hand, it does make sense to a degree because in typical swordplay, you will get more control by using both hands rather than just flailing around with a single-handed weapon.
Mhm.
So it does make sense for Kapachi to get his power up, as it were, through something like this, even if it is just kind of simple. But also goes with his personality to not see much point beyond that in the whole like art of kendo, as he mentioned.
Yeah, yeah. He doesn't. It's not really his thing. The way it's explained in the manga, it's like old man Genry Asai got me into it for a while when I first joined the 13 court guard companies, but it isn't really my thing. They said it was the way of the sword and all that. I don't like the name either, so I haven't been using it. But the power, yeah. Did you know that a sword is more lethal when swung with both hands? So,
Mm-hmm.
he took something he learned and he grew from that.
Which
So,
is kind of surprising because he always seemed to be like the kind of person who is stuck in his ways.
hmm. I think from that, though, we can gather that Kenny actually finally found someone who was worthy of him going that a little extra level.
Yeah,
Because,
definitely. Which
we
is
haven't seen it from now. Like, since then, Ichigo, albeit a worthy opponent, he hasn't needed to
hmm
use it. Although, Ichigo has grown a lot. If at the end of this, it then becomes clear that perhaps if Ichigo and Kenny fought again, then Kenny might need to use Kendo again in order to overpower Ichigo.
yeah, definitely interesting to see that fight happen.
Mhm. Yeah. What did we think of Noito's sword release? Which, he didn't exactly release his sword. His sword was already released. He just kind of went Super Saiyan and started looking like a giant Pesce. But yeah, we got Santa Teresa, which is sacred screaming, praying mantis, and is of no relation to Mother Teresa, because of course Mother Teresa isn't a saint, and this is Saint
hmm
Teresa, the Spanish Saint Teresa. So yeah, we had. What did you think of Noito's release form and his multiplying arms and counting arms?
Yeah, it was I get the comparison to an insect, although I'm not sure I would say praying mantis necessarily. I got more spidery feel from him.
Mm, but I mean, spiders have 8 legs, so and praying mantises do have 6 legs.
I mean, that's true, but he could have grown another pair. He only had four at first.
He did only have 4, and then he was hiding 2. So because he wanted to prove to everyone that he can count. I mean, we have Spanish lessons with Ziles, so now we have counting with Noitora. It's all good. All your education needs from Hueco Mundo.
hmm But
uh,
yeah, I did like the idea or the design of the scythes and everything. It's like made an interesting mix up with his fighting style, and definitely threw Kenpachi for a little bit of a loop at first, but
yeah,
it didn't last for very long, unfortunately.
it didn't, no. And I think as well, I think because we're so used to, you know, Espada's fighting with a sort of traditional sword. We've not really seen this kind of weird shaped short sword. The weird shaped sword. Words are good today. Since Saruchi. Saruchi had that yo-yo type thing, so she didn't have a
hmm
traditional sword. But so far it's really all just, it has been traditional. So having Nnoitra with his starting scythe, and then again that kind of continue out when he does his sword release, it makes him stand out. It makes him more memorable because he has got that different sword type thing. But I mean, no one can ever say that Noita's armless.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's okay. Speaking of puns and things that make you laugh, even though my pun was pretty bad, the fact that Kenny says, "I'm finally getting used to your hardness." I'm sorry. That made
Yeah.
me giggle probably more than it should. But yes. Um,
You, you know that some fanfic writers out there are making use of that.
in every ship, there is.
So, what were your thoughts on Noitora's little flashback of?
Yes! That's exactly where I was going as well. The fact that so far we've seen a lot of flashbacks. We've seen, Kayen's got his Kayen. Aranero had his little flashback. You've got other people who have been fighting. Wow. Who else have we fought? Nell had a flashback.
Mhm.
Zyle had a flashback. Zyle was in a flashback. And it makes you feel bad for Zomari, because Zomari wasn't in any flashbacks. But the thing that stood out for me is, we've spoken a bit about the timelines before, because of course Nnoitra was 8th Espada way back when, and how back far when we don't know, but when Nell was 3rd Espada and Nnoitra was 8th Espada, Aizen was there and actively sending them out to find Vasta Lordes, probably so they can expand their, waving my arms like a lunatic trying to find words and it's not happening, expand their little mini army. I think so that really stood out to me, is the fact that Aizen, had sent these two out to go find Vasta Lordes, and instead them Noito is just kind of destroying colonies of hollows, which that was another thing, the fact that a collective noun for hollow was a colony. A colony of hollows. There we go. Take that back with your fanfic writers. A colony of hollows. But yeah, what did you get from it?
Basically the same thing, but it was like he definitely had a major obsession with people that were stronger than him. And
Mm-hmm.
it kind of rang a little weird because from what I understood, he was actively seeking someone stronger. And I think this is more so discussed in the next episode, but I'm gonna just talk about it now because we're talking
Mm-hmm.
about flashback. Um, with him seeking someone stronger than him so he can eventually be defeated in battle. But at the same time, from the flashbacks, he always seemed to resent those who made him feel weak.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed like a very interesting conflict of feelings that was going on in his history.
Yeah, I think he mentions as well, that he just wants to get stronger. And we've
Hmm.
spoken before in these episodes how, you know, what was it that Aizen did in order to be able to effectively control, lord over all of these strong hollows, like these Espada? What did he do? And he must have promised them something. He must have promised them something. So did Aizen then promise each Espada something different depending on what they wanted? So for the likes of Noitora, he obviously got power from Aizen. He got that
Hmm.
ability to be stronger. Um, so with that, he's working with Aizen. It would have been interesting for the flashbacks to go, kind of beyond that time, what he was like before. You know how with Grimjaw's backstory and history we got with him starting off as the Hollow and going up to a Rancor and Adjudicus, all that sort of stuff. And then
Mm-hmm.
what he was like prior to being an Arankar. It would have been nice, I think, to see that for Nnoitra as well, just to kind of see where his
Yeah.
motivation of being strong comes from.
Yeah, because I get the kind of the feeling that he would have probably been like maybe the weakest in his colony, as we've discovered is the term,
Mhm.
and then pushed around until he eventually became stronger than everyone else and maybe got like a superiority complex.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Anything else
No, that's all
you
I got
got?
for notes on those.
Yeah. I've got back in episode 201. We had a little bit of Ichigo realizing that Orihime is actually pretty strong. Like when
Mm-hmm.
Nnoitra goes for Yachiro, and Orihime just shoots off and protects Yachiro. Ichigo's like, wait, no, don't go, and tries to like break out of the Shoten Kishin. But he's like, oh, I can't get out. And I think that realization in his eyes is that actually, you know what, Orihime is pretty strong because not only is she there healing him, protecting him, she can also then divide her powers and go protect and create a shield over Yachiro as well.
Mm.
So I think that pivotal moment for Ichigo is going, she's not just some damsel in distress, Orihime can actually hold her own. Whether or not we see that again, if he remembers it, um, his instinct is just to protect. But, hopefully we'll see Ichigo realizing and maybe letting Orihime fight alongside him next time. Because that would be cool to
Yeah,
see.
definitely. That we can definitely see Orihime has had a major personal growth in her strength ever since all this stuff happened, and it's definitely good to see Ichigo acknowledge that to some degree, even if it is just kind of like just hitting the shield and getting burned or whatever happened to his hand.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, Other than that, I have some fun facts for these episodes. Gotta love some
Ooh,
fun
let's see them.
facts. Okay, so I mentioned that one of the manga chapters in episode 202 was called The Undead 4. So that was chapter 311. So you're probably wondering where the Undead 1, 2, and 3 are. Well, they are actually Kenny versus Ichigo. So Undead 1 is Ichigo versus Ichigo and Kenny's first date. I mean, sorry, meeting. Um, and then Undead 2 and Undead 3 is Ichigo versus Kenny. So a lot of the times recently in the manga, we've been seeing manga chapters that have got like a continuation of a chapter from ages ago. So, we had a Chad continuation, we've had Renji continuations, Ishida continuations, and now we're having Kenny continuations as well. Which is cool because it's giving these minor characters a chapter of like a kind of side story of their own type thing. And then, surprise, surprise, we got a new ending. And
Yes.
I personally love this ending. And if you have not watched the anime and you have not watched the ending, don't go watch the ending just now because it is filled with spoilers. Spoiler central. But no, this is one of my favorite endings. I do love Sky Chord. And I was definitely singing along and got very happy when I heard it because I was not expecting it. So yeah, I think that's all I've got for episodes 201 and 202.
Yep, that's all I got for them as well.
Okay, perfect. Alrighty, episode 203, manga chapters 313, To Close Your World, 314 Night Side of Abduction, and 315 March of Death. And manga anime differences, there wasn't any. Either that, or I was just so engrossed that I didn't actually pick up any. And I turned to my sister and I was like, "Did you catch any manga anime differences?" She was like, "No." I was like, "Okay then." So yeah, other than probably just like little bits of filler, there was nothing really major of note that was different. They kept it pretty loyal, which is kind of cool.
That's always good to see.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about the start first, and then we'll get into the meaty nitty gritty of the info dump of fake Karakura Town, Okens, and Aizen's master plan. So yeah, we got the ending of the Kenpachi Nnoitra fight. We got that's when the kind of flashbacks come in. Actually, I say that, and there probably really isn't anything to say that we haven't already said.
Yeah, it was like all encompassed in the first two anyways.
We just talked Kenny and Nnoitra, yeah. But yeah, after all that's finished, and Kenny breaks Ichigo out of his healing cell and tells him to run, grab the girl and run. And then Stark turns up. Stark, who we've seen sleeping on a beanbag chair. Maybe that's what he got promised. The reason why Stark is following Aizen is because Aizen promised him beanbag chairs. But yeah, Stark pops
I'd
in.
follow him for that.
I know, right? I love a beanbag chair. Beanbag chair and cake. But yeah, Stark and his magical teleporting act.
Yeah, it's like it's definitely interesting to see like both Ichigo and Kenpachi be like, "Oh shit," and attack him at once. That was like a, well, damn.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder though how long it took Aizen to get Stark out of bed.
Probably the entirety of the fight.
Probably. He's just been like grumbling that he's there far too early. Yeah. Okay, let's get into the fact that Aizen built up this whole thing about how amazing Orihime's powers are, and how the powers of phenomenal rejection, I can say that word, but I can't say other words, phenomenal rejection, and he doesn't even use it.
It's called a red herring.
Yeah, but Orihime, come on, bless her. She's built
Yeah, it's
for
like
so
they build her up.
They build
Giving
her
her like
up,
such an important role.
They give her purpose. They give her an opportunity to to do the opposite and destroy it and return time and all this sort of stuff. And he's just like,
And they
yeah,
were just like,
yeah,
"You're just gonna be a damsel in distress to distract everyone else."
yeah, Orihime.
She really does get screwed over in all
She
these
really does.
situations.
She really does. Yeah, she's just a pawn in the Aizen game of chess. And then, yeah, Okiora turns up. And he's like, "Hey, I want my girlfriend back." You know. So yeah, Aizen is a huge troll. Orihime deserves better. And, chess sucks. Is what we get from those things. Yeah. I've actually written here about Okiora. When Aizen goes, "Okiora, I'm leaving Hueco Mundo to you," and Okiora's like breaks out and he's like, "That's my cue. Time to break out of this prison. I could have broken out ages ago, but my moody ass wanted a fancy entrance." Yeah. It was perfectly timed.
It suits him.
We got a final name. We finally know what the old dude's called. Mr. Barragan. Who has a plethora of facciones. I mean, you've got Stark with 1 and Halibel with 3, and then you had him with, what was it, 6? He had a lot.
Yeah, he's got his like own little squad going on.
He does. Yeah, he's the captain, he's got his lieutenant, and the third seat came along for the ride, and it's Squad 11, because, you never see Squad 11 without Yachiro, Ikaku, Yumachika.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's Squad 11 now. What else have you got for this episode?
Um, just a lot of like obviously Aizen is the yes, I have foreseen all this and my plans are infallible. I will lord over all of you and I am unbeatable. But then it was just like a lot of I guess Urahara being responding with but I know your plans and what you're probably gonna do, and I'm gonna build a whole fake Karakura town to thwart you and just like a lot of one-upping each other nonsense, it felt like.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because Kisuke has been busy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not only has he successfully transported 4 captains, a couple of lieutenants, some random. I can't call Hinataro random, sorry. Hinataro, he transported them all into Huecomundo. He has created the Tenkai Ketchu, which is placed in a perimeter around Karakura Town, which allows it to transport it to the Soul Society and replace it with a fake town that Mayuri made. I couldn't remember his name then. So, we had Mayuri and Kisuke working together, which, is kind of cool because we know that Kisuke was the captain of 12th and Mayuri's captain of 12. And so, we've got these 2 powerhouses of 12 working together, which I think is pretty cool. Whether or not they see it the
Mm-hmm.
same way is a different story. But we'll find out we'll find out more on that later. So yeah, it's a whole kind of Sleeping Beauty type thing. But the fact that they did all this, and then Aizen already knows that they've done
Yeah, that
this.
was like my ear goes through all this painstaking, quick, making an exact replica of the town. I'm gonna presume to hopefully fool Aizen, only for Aizen to supposedly already know.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it still serves a purpose of it delays the inevitable. So even if Aizen did
Mm-hmm.
know, it's still delaying the inevitable. And the captains of the Soul Society, probably think that they can defeat Aizen before he even gets a chance to step foot in the Soul Society. I think that's probably what they're working on. However, they probably don't anticipate the fact that Aizen's just brought 3 Espada with him, and of course he's got Gin there and Tosin there. Um, so, it'll be interesting. It was a very misnomered episode title, Aizen versus Shinigami, because there wasn't really any fight there. However, they did gather in
Mm-hmm.
Karakura Town. Everybody in Karakura Town sleeping in the Soul Society, so, Um,
Then we got our weird look at each captain and lieutenant, like get their flash back and forth between the group shot and the individual shots.
yeah, it was nice to see everyone there. Like, you had, Soifon was there, and you've got, I know people. Toshiro was there, and you saw Kuraku was there, and Okitake was there. So, like, everybody has turned up to this big event. The only 4 that aren't there are the 4 who's stuck in Hueco who
Mm-hmm.
apparently can't get out because he closed the gargantuas behind him. So that's going to be interesting how they get out. If they get out. Have we lost them forever? So,
Well, I know Kenpachi probably wouldn't mind. Lots of hollows to fight every
lots
day.
of hollows to fight. And at least he's left someone, capable back home in charge. Whereas Inohana took her lieutenant with her. Byakuya went to save his lieutenant. And Mayuri's lieutenant is alive, actually. Yes. Got revived. Dubiously. So, captain class aside, let's just hope they don't get stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. um. Aizen's master plan is, and I think we've talked about this before, is to destroy Karakura Town and create an oaken.
Yes.
And we know what an oaken is, she
Yes.
says, question markingly. I know what
I
it
believe
is,
so.
but do the audience know what it is?
I don't remember if the audience knows what it is. It's been so long.
I know, it's been so long. Bleach Manga Chapter 223. Yes, we know what it is.
Okay, good.
It was in Bleach Manga Chapter 223, which, let me go back. I want to have I have a funny feeling this is when he was talking to Orihime. 223? 223. Page 5 to 11. Oh, yes. Ukitake found out about it. He found records that certain documentation related to the Hogyoku had been accessed. This is before they'd even gone into Fuego Mundo. This is when they're back in Soul Society, and Yamamoto was talking to Toshiro and Rangiku on the tentacly-like screen. And he explains that Ukitake had gone into the archives, found out that Aizen had taken out information on the Hogyoku and also the Oaken. And the Oaken opens a gate to the dimension. And we also spoke about how it happens. 100,000 souls. And so it's fine. We know all this. So yeah, Aizen knows exactly what he wants to do. So yeah, he's now basically putting this in plan, and Yamamoto is very relieved that they made it on time. They were probably running out the door, putting shoes on, or combing a hairbrush, brushing their teeth. I wouldn't be surprised if someone in that crowd has toothpaste on their shihakuso, because, they were all running late. A mad scramble, alarms going off, and anyone have wet hair? Anyone get caught out in the shower? Because that's happened to me before, getting called to an emergency when I'm in the shower. Turning up at my station with soapy wet hair.
Yep, I've been there.
So, yeah, I mean, it's all happening now. It is all happening. We're finally getting somewhere, and the anime is going to throw a spanner in the works and give us 2 filler episodes, and then we're not even going to get to we're going to get some interesting stuff, but we're not going to get to the actual fighting. You're just going to have to wait a little bit while longer before we find out exactly Soul Society versus Aizen. Basically, he got a little while to wait. Yeah.
Well, at least we get some exciting stuff coming up.
Yes. I'm not excited at all. I'm calm. If you know, you know. Do you have anything else?
No, it looks like everything I had has been covered.
Yeah. I feel like we're missing some bigger page, like bigger picture, something that we should discuss, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. I feel like Dell and Lethan are probably yelling at us when they're listening to us, going, "You should have mentioned this!" Sorry, friends. Sorry. Yeah, I think that's it then. And we don't have any news, so let's just move on to the Shinigami Cup Peroxide Edition. And because Shiki's back, Shiki can go first. Who wore it best this week, Shiki?
So, for my who wore it best, that would be Nnoitra and his newfound scars. You can say it was an eye-opening experience for him.
I love it. So my who wore it best were the eye patches, because they ruled those people, and they flew off and revealed what was hidden beneath in spectacular style. So go eye patches.
Yes.
Yeah. And best ship.
For my best ship, I had Kenpachi and Noitora's hands make for a gut-wrenching pair, wouldn't you say?
You're too funny.
I had to work my dad jokes. It's been a while.
My best ship was Ichigo. Mine's quite serious, actually. Ichigo and his look of realization that Orihime is not just a damsel in distress. So it's Ichigo and his face, basically.
Mm-hmm. That's safe.
And what have you got for a fandom shout out?
So for my fandom shout out, I was looking around on Instagram recently and this cosplayer came up today. It's for a Yoruichi cosplay, done by Fleur de Grace.
Oh, cool. Ooh. Oh, I love her nails and her eyes. Oh, that's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it. Her jump is so fun. Meow. That's so cute. Oh, I love it. Oh, she's done other ones as well. And she's got
Mm-hmm.
got ones with Soifon and Orihime ones. That's so cool. Ah, good find. My fandom shout out is this piece of artwork from Twitter, and this is by Ajugi Aju. So it's AJUGI_AGU on Twitter, and it's just Momo, looking so soft and happy under the sakura trees, which is apt because it's in Scotland. The sakura trees bloom a lot earlier, due to our climate. So all of our sakura trees in Scotland are currently in bloom, whereas there'll be sakura season in Japan will be coming up in the next couple of weeks / month. But it's just so soft and she's so pretty, and she deserves better. Oh.
It's a really good art style too.
It really is, and the light shining from her face as she turns towards the camera. It's so good. So yes, this was my fandom shout out. Alrighty. Any more for any more? Anything you want to say? Anything we've forgotten to add?
Nope, that's me.
No, I think we're good. Just, even though we're skipping the next 2 episodes, definitely stick around for the next bunch of episodes because we're going into a whole new arc. We're learning things. If you haven't figured it out yet, it's going to be a very, very exciting time for Del and myself, and it's just going to be... We're going to try not scream incoherently and fan soul too hard, but there's no promises.
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. So, you wonderful souls, that is the end of another episode. If you liked what you heard and want to get involved, you can find us by searching The Seireite on Instagram and T Seireite on Twitter. Now, Ichigo and Rukia might reap souls, but we're hoping to reap some 5-star reviews, and that is where you come in. Make like our favorite orange-haired protector and Ichigo to iTunes and Spotify, to raters, to reviewers, and make us feel like #1. To those of you who are listening on YouTube, don't forget to be like Chad and give us that good thumbs up. We really appreciate it. On the next episode of the podcast, we'll be covering 4 anime episodes. Episode 206, The Past Chapter Begins, The Truth from 110 years ago. Episode 207, 12th Division's new captain, Urahara Kisuke. Episode 208, Aizen and the Genius Boy. And episode 209, Muguruma's 9th Division moves out. So exciting! But anyway, we will see you souls then. Till next time.